Should be good. Looks like we're live. Awesome sauce.
Hey, we are live. What's going on, friends? Who's chiming in today? Who's ready to get some
comments? Nobody probably has a clue that we jumped times on them.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. They're going to get a little slower.
I just wanted to get this together for more content, so people had some kind of thing that they could share with people and give them a reference what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we're good.
Live in the group. There we go.
Yeah. So
give everyone a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll probably kick off in about 2. Yeah, I can see the numbers kicking on.
Yeah, people are rolling in. It's all good. Good morning, friends. What's going on? What's going on, Mark, Simon, Jason, Vic? What's going on? Dream Car Financing. I still love that name. Dwenda, what's going on? Good to see everyone piling in. We're just going to give everyone just a minute or two since we changed the time and kind of came on short notice of people. But we're getting it out there, so that's good. Let's see what else I got here. Oh, that was posted. Yeah, okay.
Very cool. Rocking and rolling.
Okay. That's a strange message.
Hey, just as a quick heads up, anybody watching this, whether you're watching it live or you're going to watch this on a replay, anytime we have a live, it's the exact same link will be where you can find the replay, just in case you didn't know that. If you're new to the channel or if you're new to everything, you can always also, if you don't mind, wherever you're watching this from, like it, share it. It helps us get the word out, because everything that we're doing is to basically grow this community. You know, grow everything. So
yeah, the comments and the stuff all also help too. It just gets into the YouTube algorithms that YouTube realize that people like what's going on, and so that's all good. Funny, got a funny message last minute. I'm curious. Wait for the response, but all right, we're all good, Mike. All right, buddy. Let's kick it off. Let's get into it. Those who joined us a little late, they'll sort it out.
Perfect. So what I want to do is, in today's format is going to be different than what you see. This isn't going to be an announcements thing. Terry has a massive understanding of how crypto works, crypto projects, and obviously specifically Lemon. That's why we've all listened to what he's been saying. I've gotten way up to speed on what I did and didn't know about crypto. I mean, it's a new language to basically listen to. I was laughing with Terry. I was telling him a couple days ago, I was mentioning this to some people at racquetball, where I go play racquetball like 3 times a week. And I said, hey, out of 20 guys I play racquetball with, 20 of them have like no idea how crypto works or whatever. It's like literally the margin of how many people understand this or think it isn't some hype is just minuscule. Okay. So you're in the right place at the right time, but at the same time, understand that this is a learning curve. You're going to have to learn the language. It is like speaking something new, but as you hear it repetitively, it's going to increase your knowledge. It's going to increase your ability to make proper decisions based on what you see fit. Now, Terry and I are not paid by Lemon. We are not financial advisors. Everything that we say on here is hypothetical speculation. A lot of times when we talk numbers, you know, we're not giving you financial advice. You know, you always want to consult with somebody who's maybe licensed to do this stuff. We're not selling anything, is another good point, I think. And so what we're doing is we're just kind of sharing with you what we believe are some ways that you can decipher some of what you're looking at. Okay. So, because we can have announcement after announcement after announcement about all these amazing things, but if you don't know how to capitalize on them, or you don't understand where it fits in this puzzle, it's not going to do you any good. So real quick housekeeping, I want to pull this up. If you have not been here, you can go to, this is a website that I just put together. It's mynodetraining.com. And then the direct link is just this one up here. On here, I did a short introductory video. You can watch this yourself. And if at any time you want to, you can always push play. I'm not going to play it, obviously, but what you can do is you can, if you right click on videos, in case you don't know how to do this, if you right click, you can copy a URL and you can send it to somebody, or you can go directly to the YouTube link of it here as well, just in case you don't know how to navigate that. And then down here below this video, this is how you can go to the Lemon DApp. which is this page right here. That's what the DApp is. It stands for Decentralized App, APP. I got that, I forget who it was that put the Lemon frequently asked questions is here. The Lemon store, a lot of people do ask about where they can buy swag, like the shirt that I have on. You can go to the Lemon store. And if you're looking for validator hosting, you know, if you're a validator, you can click on that. It'll take you directly to lemonnodes.com. So you have that. And then the group that we're all in, most of us are in the main Lemon Telegram chat. They can join right here. So you can send everybody just to this page and get it directly. And then I do have some trainings in case you don't understand this, because we're not going to go through in today's on how to swap. We're not going to go into how to stake necessarily, because those are all on here, or how to create a wallet. Okay. So what this is, today's purpose is going to be for Terry and I to kind of go through and, you know, kind of basically cover some important points about tokenomics. So that's the housekeeping. Terry, is there anything you want to open up with? And then I'll just go right into just kind of walking people through and asking you the questions to answer.
Yeah, just big applause to you. I mean, that's awesome what you did on the site. Like I haven't been there in a little while. Even when I send out the link, I just go grab it and send it out before checking it. So it's cool that you put the FAQs and the dApps and the store and just like all these extra little elements right in one place. It goes a long way to, especially in the future, we want to onboard new people. So I think that's fantastic. And yeah, awesome that you're willing to jump on and do these calls. So I'm excited to chat about tokenomics, and we'll see what we can tackle today. Maybe take on some questions and all that fun stuff. But we're here to help. We're just community volunteers who care about the project and the people in it, and here to help where we can.
Awesome. Okay, so Terry, let's do this. I'm going to take people to the Lemon DApp, and we're going to start here, because this is where you're going to see all of the projects. Let me blow that up for you. And I'll just kind of walk you through what you're looking at. And then I'm going to ask Terry the questions that I don't understand answers for. So when you go on here, the first thing you're going to see is all the projects are listed here. And this is where they will primarily be that you're going to be looking for. You'll notice that it says NFTs minted. And then I hover my mouse over that. It gives you a kind of a breakdown of what it means, how many staked. You know, so there might be, you'll notice this number is a little bit different than this one. It's just because maybe somebody minted a Lemon NFT, but they forgot to stake it, meaning that if they don't stake it, they're not getting rewards. Now, the rewards rate is this right here, where you can click on them, you know, the icon, and then the market price is kind of currently what this is trading at. Okay, so you can see that. Now, if you want to know about trading, one of the easiest places to get information and see up to minute how trades are working is it's on Deck Screener. And then what you do is you just go over here to the search area of Deck Screener and you type it in. Now, to find the actual token, okay, and this is where I'm gonna grab Terry now, is I gotta shrink that, is what you do is when you mouse over this, if you click on it, you're gonna see over on the right-hand side that it's gonna pop up with the description, total NFTs. Obviously, they're gonna add an icon here so it just doesn't look like a square. But right here down in the bottom corner, you're going to notice this right here. There's a QR code. So if you have your phone and you want to scan this, it'll give you that, this. They call that the contract address, correct, Terry?
Yep, and that's always where you want to find it from.
Okay, the source. Real important. This is the only place you want to pull this from. You don't want to go on Google and search that or anything like this. What you can do is you can touch this. If I tap that, what it's going to do is it's going to copy that. And then if I went over to Deck Screener, as I pushed on the search, I could just paste it and it's going to pull up and you'll see it right here. And then I click it and now it's going to add this. Now, if you want to keep a list of these things, just so you know how to do this, on the right-hand side, you're going to see where it says watch list. If you click that, it'll say add domain or whatever, and that'll allow you to create a watch list, which is what I have here. So I went in and I did that with every single project as the watch list. Okay, so there's your basics. But now let's go over to the light paper, okay? When you click on the light paper, Terry, explain to everybody what a light paper is defined as, or what it really means.
I mean, it's just kind of, it is kind of the contract between the people in the ecosystem and those who created. It defines what is in the smart contract, what is on offer, how it's going to work. And it should ideally provide the A to Z. And you can see that we're still in the draft stage. And there's a few reasons for that. That's not because any of the major fundamentals are going to change, but A, expediency, B, legal, and C, I would argue things like details on the blockchain, details on some of the partners. Sometimes there are contracts that they don't want us to tell the general public who the partners are quite yet. And so eventually final light papers will come in and include things like, and I know people have had these questions because my inbox gets hit nonstop, of like, what is the architecture of the actual blockchain on Lemon Coin and stuff like that. That's all going to be in the final draft. It just wasn't in the draft papers for the reasons I just stated. So,
okay. Terry, to keep this simple, I meant to do this one is let's, because once a light paper is written, it's kind of in stone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to just do Lemflix. But if you understand how we go through and how you get educated on the light papers and what you're looking at, which is my point for today, and what Terry's going to help us with, is this will give you a better understanding of how a project works, so that when you're over here and you look at Lemflix and you see that there's this many that have been minted, this many have been staked, and a lot of times when you're early, you don't know why this number is, well, yesterday it was 45 Lemflix a day I was getting. Now it's 40. What is happening? Why are they going down? So that's kind of the thing we need to understand. So let's scroll through this about Lemflix. You guys can listen in or read some of the stuff in here yourselves, but I want to kind of get how it works. Okay, let's start right here, Terry. And just because there's a lot of people that we take this for granted that don't understand this stuff. But what do royalties mean in a project?
Royalties mean that there's an underlying business that is there, and royalties come off the top line revenue, meaning before they deduct expenses and operating and all that good stuff. It is a royalty. It's an agreement ahead of time. That could be 1%, 5%, 20% of the actual revenues coming in from the operating business. So in the Lemflix case, we are going to get approximately $1 from every subscription. So you can work out the math on that percentage. That would be the royalty that is essentially committed to the project. There's going to be transparency on the royalties, which is fantastic. We all want transparency. This is what builds trust and mass adoption. And that royalty then goes into the buy and burn wallet.
Okay, so let me get to that. Let me show that. So you've got the royalties, which what Terry just explained. The NFTs are what we have the ability to get for free. We mint the NFTs, and then you had let's go ahead, keep going, and then we'll go through staking and all that stuff.
Sure. So in that buy and burn wallet, what that means is every time you as a token holder wants to sell, let's say you did want to sell, which hashtag I don't recommend, but if you did want to sell those tokens, there always has to be a willing buyer. It's just a free and open market. It's not like we're selling our tokens back to a corporation. It's not like we're selling them into thin air or to nobody. There has to be a willing buyer there. And to make markets work better, one of the brilliant things about this model is the idea is that the royalties always provide, this is what we call liquidity. Liquidity means that there's a willing buyer on the other side of the sellers. There's some kind of market account. There's a set amount of value. And there could be buyers. It could be Mike and I buying your tokens when you're selling. So it could be anyone in the ecosystem, but sometimes it's the trust. And when the trust is buying the tokens, it has a contractual obligation as defined in the light paper to buy those tokens and burn them out of existence, which continuously shrinks the supply. But there has to be funds in there, right, ready to be a willing buyer. And so you may someday be selling your tokens to Mike and I, but you may someday be selling it to the trust, and then we'll buy and burn it from there.
Okay,
good start, right, Mike?
Yeah, perfect. Right. Okay, so let me go down to, I'm going to skip over the rewards. Let's talk about.
Well, let me just summarize the rewards really quickly on the minting and the staking and the stuff that Mike showed.
Go ahead. So there's staking, minting, and gas fees.
Yeah, so it's the same rule that we've always had for those who are new. Maybe you're new, but there's a fixed amount of tokens that go out every single day. And the amount of tokens that goes out is always equally divided amongst all current active node holders. So more people mint and stake, the lower and lower and lower the daily token distribution that comes your way will be.
Which means it makes a lot more sense that if a project launches, you want to jump on it as quick as possible because you pick up the rewards much faster. A lot of people did that, especially in like Lemflix, which is what we're going through right now. They were sitting around going, well, should I swap? Should I not do this? Do I mint this one or whatever? But those of us who acted on it fast picked up like 10 times the minting, the mining, just like that, correct?
Yeah, the token rewards that were distributed, you get a lot more of them. And so accumulation is the name of the game here.
Okay. Minting fee. That's the $25. Explain a gas fee real quick for people that don't know.
A minting fee is just the NFT is free, but there are expenses to it. So think of it as free plus shipping and handling. It's the easiest way to think of it. Right? Some people are like, oh, but it's not free. It's $25. And I understand in some countries that is a real amount of money, but it's a shipping plus handling, which you would pay anywhere in anything. There are expenses related to getting the deliverable to you. Gas fees. Gas fees are like credit card charges that merchants pay on any kind of transaction. It's required. In the blockchain, there are also fees that have to go to people like the validators who keep the network up. It's just required. So,
and right now, gas fees are going through Binance because we're connected currently on the Binance network, correct?
Yep. Binance Smart Chain. So you pay your gas fees in BNB, but that will soon be all in LEMX.
And that'll be okay. That's perfect. Okay. And then reward distribution. Rewards are different than royalties a lot of times. Rewards are what?
Rewards are the actual tokens that you get. So I saw someone even as recent as an hour ago in the chat, like, but there's no USD value. How much USD are you getting? I feel like the crazy person taking crazy pills having to explain this again, but we get rewarded in tokens, not in USD. They just happen to have an exchangeable market value.
Right. And that's what this is on the rewards rate. What you're looking at on the website is this shows you the daily rewards rate for every 24 hours based on this number of how many have been minted. This is how many you are eligible to get per NFT that you have staked. So 40 would come in, and so on. And then if this number doubles, more than likely that number would cut in half, hypothetically.
And by the way, that discrepancy between minted and staked, those people who have those NFTs are not getting in rewards. You can only get them once you're staked.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So reward distribution. Now this is the one that I wanted you to take a little more time because you can see this, right, Terry?
Yep. Yeah. All good.
So EGI pool divided by this numerical equation is basically how they're explaining what you just said a couple times, where there's a certain amount of money that's coming to these pools, royalties, and then there's a specific finite amount of tokens that can ever be minted or mined.
Correct. And so the EGI pool is it's called the Economic Growth Initiative pool, but let's just say it's the origination pool. If there's only ever going to be, in this case, 888 million tokens, they start from the EGI pool. All right. And then this equation here just determines how many would go out per day. There's a fixed amount constantly coming off of that EGI pool every single day that gets sent out to NFT holders. That's how it works every time. And later on, you're going to hear me talk about cuts to the EGI pool, matching burns in the EGI pool. You have to realize that this is what I'm talking about, that finite number of original tokens that will ever exist. There will never be more tokens than that, no matter what. And from day one, we start shrinking that amount of supply. And so this is just the equation that determines how many go out per day. And then you got to divide it by the number of active node holders, active NFTs staked.
Okay. Now, the next part here says pairing. Explain pairing on here as well.
Pairing is like anytime you've gone on an exchange when you wanted to swap your debt to USDT, USDT to debt, USDT to Lemon, Lemon to USDT. Perhaps you were on Binance or Coinbase at some point and you purchased BTC. Well, you had to trade it for something. You had to see where there was a trading pair. And so your trading pair would be like BTC to USDT, for example, that you swapped into. And so in our case, in this ecosystem, everything is paired to LEMX. And that is one of the most unique features that everyone's heard it. Everybody understands it in principle. They understand it in nominal terms that, yes, physically LEMX is paired, meaning it's the only thing you can swap LEMFLIX to. If you want to swap LEMFLIX to Bitcoin, you can't do that. You must swap it first to the utility token, which is LEMX, and then from there, go see what other trading pairs exist. But most people don't understand how unique it is to have an entire ecosystem of blockchains that all pair to only one token. There's a very distinct benefit and reality there, and we'll try and spell that out a little bit today.
Oh, we'll speculate wildly here shortly. We're just getting the definitions out. A pairing, which is what you just covered. Now, the listing is when a token goes live, correct? And I can see it on like Dex Screener, correct?
When a token goes live on an actual exchange, somewhere where you can start to trade it if you so chose. Maybe you wanted to, maybe you had rent to pay and you wanted to sell 10%. That's going to be very painful, by the way. You're going to pay a very big long-term tax on that. But if you want to, it lists on an exchange, you send that out, and now you can swap it out for something else and sell some of your tokens and monetize them.
Okay. So tokenomics, let's just briefly touch on this. Tokenomics is basically the language or the definition of how a token's economy works, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It stands for token economy. It's what it is. Okay. And we're trying to define all the variables that come into play that intersect to affect the value and ergo the price of these tokens, right? Because the tokens don't have any value until they're exchangeable, right? So then what makes them valuable to somebody else is the various things that can happen that can dramatically increase their value over time.
Okay. Now we're going to slow down on this one, but let's talk about supply. And so far in every one of the projects, they've all been listed at, I don't know if I can highlight that. I can't highlight that. 888 million total tokens for most of these projects that have just been released, correct?
This will be the same for all projects for the foreseeable future. It will change at some point. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but for all of our early projects, yes.
Okay. So this means that that's the total amount that's ever available, unlike other governments that just print it out of thin air. It can't be increased by just clicking a dashboard, right?
Right. And that's one of the things that makes everything here so incredibly valuable. And that's not only a fixed supply, but it's a deflationary, meaning a continually shrinking supply at all times.
Okay. You covered a little bit, but just a repetition, how does that supply shrink again?
So that supply is going to shrink in multiple ways. One is that it goes from the EGI pool to wallets. And let's just use the Pareto principle. 20% of the people who receive the tokens have no intentions of selling them for an extended period of time. So those tokens are essentially removed from the market supply to begin with.
Okay.
Number two is when we talked about those royalties coming in earlier, just from the business activity of the underlying project that supports this token. In this case, LEMFLIX, if there's a subscription for $5, $6 a month, and $1 of every subscription comes into the buy and burn wallet, every time that trust account buys those tokens. So let's say Joe, who's tuning in today, decides to sell 1,000 of his tokens and the trust ends up buying those 1,000 tokens are removed from supply permanently. They no longer exist and will never exist ever again. They cease to exist. And there's multiple ways that this happens.
Okay. So we've kind of just covered supply. We talked about rewards, EGI, matched EGI burn. Talk about the quarterly halving.
Let's scroll up to that match EGI burn. That's very significant.
Okay.
Friends, for starters, how are we doing? I know we're going a little slow for you. Those of you who've been around for a long time, you're probably getting bored, but Are we making it clear, even maybe a little details that weren't clear? Because we're trying hard too.
Joe just said, "No, I'm not selling." Well, this is important because I think there's a lot of my type out there that understand enough to be dangerous, but want to be good at this. And so I'm loving the format. So I don't care what anybody else is learning here. This is me publicly saying I'm using you to explain this to me as well. So,
Joe,
yeah,
can you please tell them to me? Joe, please share a few. Come on, buddy. All right.
Okay, so clear enough. Good. Okay, so go back to the matched EGI burn.
This is really important for people to understand. This is one of the, see, we covered the basics. Now we're getting to the point that people do not understand. I think that 95% of the ecosystem does not understand this. Okay, so the buy and burn wallet, the example I just used, when it buys 1,000 of Joe's tokens and it smokes them out of existence, it literally incinerates them, lights a match. The matching EGI burn means that it goes to the EGI pool, which we've described several times, the total number of tokens that will ever exist. The pool of tokens that currently distributes on a daily basis, divided up amongst NFT holders. When that 1,000 token burn happens with Joe's tokens, 1,000 is matched and also removed from the EGI pool. So if there were only 750 million tokens left in the EGI pool today, because we're brand new, let's say there are only 750, and we just burned 1,000 from Joe's tokens and then 1,000 out of the EGI pool, we are 750 million minus that 1,000. That means every NFT holder from that very moment will receive less tokens instantly. Let's say someone else wants to pay their rent, or they want to buy a validator, and they sell 35,000 tokens, and the trust ends up buying all of those 35,000 tokens. Those 35,000 tokens are gone, and 35,000 are removed from the EGI pool. These are tokens that have never been distributed even into existence. So that means every time the trust buys, it's burning twice the amount that it takes in. But more importantly, it's removing it from the EGI pool so it never actually even entered into existence. So we're dramatically shrinking the existing supply and the future supply simultaneously. What happens now when a ton of people who aren't used to having a lot of money in their lives see a token listing up pretty high, and short term, there's a decent amount of price support and enough liquidity for a whole bunch of them to get out? What happens now when, let's say, collectively 1 million tokens get sold in a day or in a week or in a month? Let's just say for the day, for example, 1 million of existing tokens that were already distributed just got cut out. So let's say in my example, we distributed, what did I say, 130 million out. 1 million got cut from there. Another million of future tokens got cut from going out. What happens when it's 10 million? What happens when it's 10 million per day of tokens going out? And the matching EGI plus the existing that was already out there gets smoked out. That token supply starts to go like this, really fast. Really fast. And then we've still got 20% who just ain't selling no matter what the bid and how seductive the offer is. They're just not doing it. And you guys getting this thing? Are we getting it?
I'm getting it. And then what happens when you add in quarterly halvings?
So quarterly halving means the supply shrinks rapidly. So there only ever was a fixed supply. Now that fixed supply that used to be 880, in theory, would get down to 440. Right? But what happens at the halving is different than what you're imagining. It's not 880 to 440. It's the current existing supply that still remains cut in half. So now all of a sudden we are rapidly removing tokens out of circulation.
So as an example, when Lemflix lists and everybody sees it listed like, let's say 50 cents, and they have 10,000, 1,000 of them in their wallets or whatever. And collectively, I showed you, I think there's like 40,000 people that have Lemflix. They all bail on that. It burns all those tokens just disappear, correct?
Yep.
And then, so that would take that immediately off the table. And then you're throwing in a quarterly halving that takes another half of what was left out of all those that sucked the supply down to begin with, correct?
Right, of those that still remain. So instead of being at the quarterly halving, instead of being, I don't know, I'm just picking a random number, guys. I didn't do the math and memorize every last step. I'm not that detail oriented. I just understand the big picture. That's all I need to understand. Let's say we're at 600 million tokens by the time the first EGI, before the quarterly halving comes. Now we're down to 300 quickly. So it went from 880 to 300. That is more than 50% of the supply that will ever exist that is already gone. So that means that if there are people who are eager to sell because they're trying to live off the token supply, big mistake. But let's say they exist, those who are trying to take $10 a day off the table. Well, they used to be able to do it off of, in your example you showed earlier, 40 tokens a day. When the quarterly halving comes, they might be down to 8 tokens a day. And so now they need those 8. That means that doesn't give them a lot of tokens left to sell. They are running out of stuff to sell. As that supply keeps getting cut down, they're going to get dropped. Sorry, I feel like a sneeze is brewing. They're going to get cut down to that 6, that 5, that 4 tokens a day. And now they've got so the people who did want to sell have almost nothing left to sell.
And how would they get tokens back?
You'll never get them back. It's impossible to get them back, right? You can never get them back.
And bought them.
Well, you can go ahead and buy them in the market, but it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, you're smoking out this supply and then trying to buy them back again.
Well, that's what I was joking. That was kind of a sarcastic thing. I kind of set you up for something.
Oh, good.
If I just mined 1,000 tokens for my minting, and mined those, and I turned them in for 10 cents a piece, and I made my $100 or whatever it is, $1,000, and then all of a sudden I now want tokens, but everybody sold, AGI burns, quarterly halvings. I might be paying $100 a token versus it worth 10 cents, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Good luck on buying them back.
And definitely at that quantity, for sure. Okay, that's good. How's your sneeze doing?
Yeah, it feels like it's temporary, hopefully.
All right, liquidity. Do you want to talk on liquidity at all?
Yeah, it's important.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
So remember I talked about earlier, there's got to be a willing buyer somewhere, right? Got to be a willing buyer somewhere. And in the beginning, the royalties are kind of insignificant, right? So what's been architected here, which is also, brilliant, really, if you think about it, and I'm going to try and help you understand it. 10% of that total supply is already gone. So from day one, we're really only talking about 90% of that number anyway. So 10% is already gone. That goes into a liquidity wallet. Think of it like an escrow. Keep that screen up just in case people want to follow along for a second, Mike.
Okay.
And just think of it going away like into an escrow. Okay. Those tokens will only ever be used for when a new exchange opens. We're going to put some tokens in there. So there's enough room for buyers and sellers to kind of participate in the market, right? So that liquidity pool and that new exchange has got enough tokens to get started with, providing a little bit of price stability in there. And so 8 million tokens on average will be deposited every 90 days to somewhere. Now, as those tokens and prices go up and down, you know what I mean? A lot of things will transpire. But what we want you to see here is that there's going to be enough tokens for you and I to buy and sell into the market to a good degree. But now we're only talking about 90% of those tokens available ever from day one. So it's another 10% cut right from day one that won't exist.
That's awesome. Transaction fees, collection fees.
Cutting, right?
Wallets, burn address. Okay, we kind of went through all these wallets, right? Do you want to go through any of the wallets or not?
No, just know that you can always go look them up so you can track and trace what's happening and what's going on.
And then the contracts. Yeah, these obviously, like Terry said, this this light paper is a demo at the moment. Okay.
So there's one other really important part that we need to take on. That's huge. That isn't being fully spelled out in the light papers. And if I've said anything wrong and you're watching, Jay, I apologize, but this is what I recall you saying. So I apologize to everyone in advance if I misspoke, if I misspeak here, but this is what I understand, and I believe I am absolutely correct. So we saw that they take some of the EGI pool and set it aside. They're also setting aside a certain amount of LEMX tokens in these projects. These LEMX tokens are essentially, I believe they are loaned to these businesses, right? So that loan comes in. In the case of the early projects, it's 50,000 LEMX. That 50,000 LEMX is going to be going and set aside in a buy and burn wallet, right, for ease of understanding. And that's going to get spent over the next 24 months. Now, that gets spent over the next 24 months in a buy and burn function. So at today's prices of $60, you can do the math, you divide it up, you can see that it's nice to have, but it doesn't make it anything overly substantial. So let's just say that some people will find this very conservative, some people will find this wildly too high. So there's no winning for me here. But let's just say we take the current price and we double it every month, just for the sake of you playing around with the math, not financial advice, not guaranteed, not predicted by me, not price fixed by Jason or anybody else. It's market-driven thing. No one can predict the future. But what happens if that LEMX price now goes on to double every single month? Look what starts to show up in that buy and burn wallet. And you're going to see that the numbers get really huge. They could become very, very substantial. Go ahead, Mike.
So what you're telling me, Terry Tillert, is that if there's tokens that are LEMX tokens set aside to buy these specific projects, correct? Right now, if they were to use said token, it would be buying at $60. However, when token go up and that same token that was worth $60 is now worth $100 or $500, but the same amount comes in, the smash or the wave of larger money from the same token supply is almost like a tidal wave coming over top of the tsunami, correct?
100%. So we are talking about roughly, loose math, around 2,100 tokens in these early projects, 2,100 LEMX tokens that are going to be spent during the month, because those are equally divided amongst 24 months. So it's easy to do that math. And then so, yes, as the value of that LEMX changes, right, this is in addition to the royalties. So the royalties keep getting added to that wallet. So as Shabir gets his influencer network out there really cranking things, and let's just use a Lemflex example to stick with it. And now all of a sudden we get to 100,000 users. That's 100,000 on top of the value of that LEMX that's locked in that pool. And I can tell no one's getting what I'm saying somehow. Because
no, it'll click. What's going to happen is they're going to go to Deck Screener one of these days and not know why there's so many why there's so many percentage increases and growth. And that, to me, this is what I liked about this. And I told Terry this and thanked him for obviously helping educate me on it. But I explained it to my wife, Stacy, too, who I'm driving up the wall with all my lemon talk. right?
One token up, sir.
Yeah, I know. She could, I trust me, I know I'm driving her nuts. This is just math. And to me, that's what makes it so exciting is this isn't speculation. This is just do this, this happens. If this happens, this happens. It's just you can't manipulate it. It's all transparent. And that's what's so exciting about this is let alone the money that's going to crash in when Mega Lemon is hitting. Okay. So shall we just, again, Terry and I are high as kites. We've been drinking all day. We're just speculating. This is all a joke. This is all just us making believe. But Terry, what would happen if they tokenized airports, ports, shipping ports? What else we've got that you can tokenize? Pretty railroads. What else?
Yeah, what if the Panama Canal comes in? I mean, I just the example I use in my mind, How many, and I don't even know what the numbers, I couldn't even start to speculate. How many billions, because it wouldn't be lower than that in my mind, how many billions of dollars would come crashing into Lemex in that case, right? And what does that do to the price? Yeah, sure, there'll be some sell pressure, all that good stuff, but what does that do to the price? But what does that do to the buy and burn wallet on every project paired to it? Everyone, like I said earlier, everyone understands the nominal idea that it's paired. And they've heard that as Lemex goes up, the other coins will go up more. But no one's really connected the dots and done the math as to why. But this is why.
Because if that kind of money comes in, institutional size money comes in, affecting the Lemex token to push that thing to 1,000, to 10,000, to 50,000, to $100,000 plus. And that one token is now worth 1,000 or 10,000, like I just repeated, is now over on an L2 project, buying up those tokens that supply had gone like this. What is the inevitable outcome?
With 2,100 tokens at that value hitting per month.
I have to run around my room real quick.
Plus royalties hitting a token supply that went like this. Because, by the way, as that starts happening, the prices start to really shoot up, and then the greed gland tickles in on even the holders. Right? And the holders start wanting to leverage up. The holders start wanting the new car. The wives want the new house. The wives want the pool installed. And they see the wallet balance and they're like, what if it doesn't stay here? Like, we're never going to see this again. Just hurry up and sell it. Cash it in. Do it. And what are people going to do? And they hit that button. Right? They're just going to. It's just human nature. There's going to be a million reasons and temptations, but there's not much supply there, right? And there's no new supply coming in. And so I saw the question, like, what happens when there's no tokens left in the EGI pool? That means it's game on it's a game of chicken between the people who currently hold tokens and how much they want to give up to the buy and burn wallet and at what price. The end.
And if you guys caught what Jason said yesterday on the live where we had Jason, Terry, Jake, and Jason, if you caught it when he was explaining Lembank is going to probably one of the reasons they're partnered with them is for doing what we would call collateralized loans on your token holdings, so that a lot of times you don't have to necessarily sell if you didn't want to, but the value is going to be there. And you would have to have a based on what we're looking at, is it's going to be worth a while. But I mean, if you can show that you had X amount of LemX tokens, the main utility token, and it's just done nothing but this the entire time, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, I'm getting it, Terry.
Have you guys, and we did this call before, Jay asked me to come do this call about a month ago to explain all of the ways in which the LEMX supply is going to be completely locked up and gridlocked, right? Like what happens in the lotto case where all the LEMX tokens are locked and released on a time contract basis for when even the lotto winners can get their loot. They're not paid in USD value. They're going to be paid in LEMX. And so as the value goes up every year, they're also going to be happy about the time lock. But what happens if we have a lotto every week? What happens if we have one twice a week? What happens if we have one daily? What happens to all those tokens that get locked up in a contract that are locked away for distribution on top of all the other things? Now we just introduced LemCrate that's going to lock up more supply. It's just like, you see how the token supply just keeps getting locked up like no one's business. And so you got this mega lemon hit, right? And so this is not me predicting the price for you. This is me just showing you that there's a lot of variables. That's why it's called tokenomics. That's why it's not called ROI, because the sellers control the price. But you can see how the sellers are going to have very little to sell very quickly. And so their resistance to the price moving up becomes very difficult for a seller to impose. So that's the point. That's why it's not an ROI. That's why it's tokenomics.
I want to ask you this, Terry. I'm going to go back over here to Lemflix. Just for hypotheticals, of course. So right now, a Lemflix is making 40 tokens a day, right?
See.
Okay, so a lot of people, so when it lists, let's say it lists at 50 cents, right? Because that's potentially what it could list at officially.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So you would take 50 cents. So what my question is, because I need you to help me with the math, because sometimes it doesn't, I usually ask ChatGPT all these questions. A lot of people are wanting to do validators, which cost $5,000 in the value of LEMX, but they're thinking, then in the back of their head, they're going, wow, if Lemflix goes to that, so let's say it's, how do you do the math on that? If it's 5,000, if it would be $5,000 worth of Lemflix at 50 cents, what would I need?
Right. And so let's say we just use the 50% listing price example. And there's a lot of variables that can affect it, hence why it's not an ROI thing. But you divide that by 50 cents, and that'll give you the amount of tokens that you would have to sell. So that comes out to just roughly 10,000. So let's just play with that number for fun.
Okay.
Well, let's say 500 people want to get a validator.
That's 5 million.
That's 5 million tokens cut from the already distributed supply, 5 million more out of the EGI pool. Now, that's theoretical because we can't guarantee that there's enough support to hold that 50K price. But let's say someone is still committed to being a validator, and we're really only sustaining the 25-cent price range, sustaining. Now we're talking about 10 million out of the existing supply, 10 million out of the EGI pool.
Just like that.
Just like that. Oh, and Mr. Healy, my good friend, there is still another, at that point in time, 4,000 more validator slots up for grabs.
Interesting.
So they won't all take them out of Lemflix. They won't all do it right away. They won't all do it on the same time frame. Now we're talking about 80 million tokens, and there's a lot of variables in there, but just as an example, getting cut from both the already distributed supply and from the EGI pool. And you see how quick those tokens shrink down to nada? Oh, it gets a little better. Mikey, what happens when those who are out of dry powder see Catfiz and Lem Games and 10 new projects come online shortly thereafter, and they need a little bit of money to go mint those new ones?
How do I buy those, Terry?
You might want to sell your Lemflix to go buy some of those new projects.
Interesting. And how do I can only mint those with what?
LemX.
Oh my goodness. I see. So I'm going into that as well.
Applying more pressure to LemX. You see, friends, you have to, by the way, we're only talking about the tokenomics the variables that hit one project, we're not talking yet about the whole lemconomy coming together. We're not talking about LemPay yet. We're not talking about LemPay on CatViz. We haven't talked about half of your local restaurants installing the LemPay API and using that for customer checkout, because they'd rather collect something that goes up in value rather than dirty fiat that goes down in value. And it's now become super easy for them to sell a little to make payroll if they have to go in and out, to pay suppliers if they have to. They all of a sudden don't mind collecting the crypto because it becomes super easy for them to navigate, right? And they start to get wise to the fact that this thing is going some places. What happens when lots of large institutions start collecting it? What happens when El Salvador and lots of places like El Salvador start to accept it because they see that they need something to get out of the hole they've been in for decades to leverage and catapult themselves up into a better place financially? And you can't do it with dirty fiat banknotes that only go down. They want things that go up. And what happens when we have our own TikTok? And what happens when we have the lottery going? And what happens when more tokens get locked up? And what happens when, like, there are so many and then what happens when everyone can see, millions of people can see that they can use it as an actual currency, and they get rewards in LemX on their credit card for doing so. And they start buying t-shirts and clothing and cars. And what happens when Ferrari accepts LemX? And what happens when, like, there's so many, you understand that we're building an entire lemconomy, a global lemconomy, where you can basically buy anything. There is no product or service that you can't buy, and mostly all stay in crypto. How does that start to, what's the ripple effect of that literally start to affect other things? We're just talking about the variables on one token, but you guys are not accounting for all these other variables coming through. What happens when on the lottery, you got 1 million people each having a pre-order button in their wallets to go participate in the raffle and the lotto and all these other things every single week automatically with a click of a button in the wallet app? Like, there's so many things that start to.
And you're telling me, Terry, that those are royalties that are going to crash into these exact projects at the same time as the supply going down, as the halving, as the selling, as less tokens are being minted?
As Shabir's network grows, the royalties wider and further, as more and more L2 projects want to come on board, as more and more L2 projects commit a certain amount of LemX into that 24-month lockup to be distributed, how much gets locked?
Go on. I want you to explain that again, because that made my head spin, like somebody just said in here, Patrick the Dragon. My head spun when you realize that when a new, so use maybe an example or something you know that you think you can tell about, that is a company that's about to tokenize, they have to actually go out and purchase X amount worth of LemX, correct?
Yeah, they're going to get that on a loan basis in most cases, which will allow them to lock that up. And of course, all those loans need to be repaid to the Blocks project.
What?
It's called Lem Loans, Poppy. Yeah. You know, and I don't want to like toot the horn, but I did it for basically free. But Dave here is bringing up a great point in the chat, Mike, if you pop that on the screen.
Which one is it?
If you guys understand what we
the security training one
are talking about here, you guys understand that identity theft is not a random event. Identity theft is you. You have no operational security, no privacy, no protection online, and you are a target. That's what the privacy course is about. It's not about putting blinds up on your windows and hiding your wife in the shower. It's about protecting you from the internet and identity theft. And when people figure out who the original Lem people are, we will be targeted, okay? Because they know that we got the early big squeeze of the juice. So if you're fools, if you think that at some point there aren't hackers out there looking to find out who got the big squeeze of the juice.
Send me a link and send me the link to your training, and I'll put it on that website as well, Terry.
Yeah, all right. I'll text it over to
you whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, I'll text over you. We drop it in the chat. But
I mean, I know this is the thing is you could call this speculation, but at the same time, it's just us understanding how they've set this up. Like everybody always wonders why Jason seems so calm on the calls and the videos and in the chats when you got some people just freaking out that token went down 1%. You know, when token go up? When will it go from 10, you know, when will it go from $50 to $55? And they're holding on like it's their dear life. This is why, if you've been paying attention in the last 55 minutes, this is why, because the picture for this is so big, it's hard to comprehend. And I was explaining, my wife, first thing in the morning, she was asking me some stuff, and I says, how's the lemon going? Da, 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 whatever. Right. And she just opened her own can of worms by asking me the question. And I'm like, I go, look, this is why I'm genuinely excited. I know you don't see anything yet, but this is this guy. And I played the video with the interview of Shabir and His Excellency that was on there with you. And he named off that his clients are Coke, they're Pepsi. He has 4.5 million people, influencers that he owns. Do you know what that means? Like he sponsors over 4 million that are going to go, that's just that. Right. And then you add that, and I'm like, look, this is what this guy said. Then I showed Stacy the video I showed you guys yesterday, where the royal families and stuff were at the event that Jason got the award on. I go, this is why I am optimistic in a good way. This is why I'm trying to figure this out as fast as I can, because of this, of how big it could potentially is going to be, because again, it's just math. And you know, Terry, about an announcement that's probably coming that's just going to just shake the world.
Oh, it's not just one. It's not just one, and it's not hype. I just can't vouch for whether the contracts go all the way across the finish line and how that rolls out. But you guys ain't heard shit yet. So, but let me also, Mike and I were speculating the other day. So hashtag speculating. This is not something I've clarified or verified. So maybe I'm wrong. But I'm going to plant this little seed in your head, because Mike and I were playing the connect the dots game, and Mike brought up a few really good points, and I was like, oh shit, you nailed it. So you guys remember hearing about a large number of wallets that all had a certain amount of money earmarked and stashed away, and we've been wondering where they would come from.
From Jason's mouth. Jason's the one that said this, not us.
Right. That part I'm not speculating. We're speculating on who they are and where they came from and where the money came from. You guys heard that, right? In the chat, are we still together? Mike also sent you a text earlier.
Yeah, we're good. I just got the text. We're good.
Yeah. Are you guys hearing what I'm saying with this thing? All right. So I forget the number, right? But there was a large number of wallets with a whole bunch of money ready for minting set aside. Did you guys remember the interview that Shabir had talked about, where he likes to literally incentivize via giveaways on the front end to get people hooked on and into a marketplace, to change their market behavior and to get them singing, right? Well, that number of wallets that are locked up, Mike and I have worked out. I'm speculating, and we're hallucinating that is a front end. Those are front end loaded wallets of Shabir's influencers to get them singing about the ecosystem. I could be way off base, just an hallucination. But those are influencers who talk to large numbers of people. What happens after they get hooked, when they get bit by the lemon bug?
And I brought it up because I have a marketing background. Like, this is what I do on a regular basis. And I was thinking to myself about the significance of that, because I'm like an influencer. I do all these stuff, reviews, and we got into chit-chatting about it. And I started remembering the conversation about the wallets. And I'm like, what a genius way to incentivize these people with paying them without paying them. It's like in marketing, the name of the game is, if I can spend $1 and at least make $1 back, I beat everybody. But if I can spend $1 and make $1.50, it is a license to print money. And if you look at what this guy already has, because he He didn't spend $100 million on software, and he doesn't have 4.5 million people on retainer that he pays for if he doesn't know what he's doing from a marketing standpoint. He doesn't have Coke and Pepsi, the two largest brands practically on the planet. And now you've got funded wallets ready to go in and make the purchases. That I asked Terry this question, and Terry's like, with some colorful language, said what he thought on his mind. And I was like, he's like, oh my God, right? This isn't speculation. This is just easy to kind of put dots together.
Right, because we were like, how do you explain those wallets? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's exactly where it is. Like, fuck, of course that's where it is. That's the answer. And like you say, because once you can get $1.50 back for every dollar you put in, you just pour gasoline on it and you just keep going. It's a perpetual cycle, the flywheel effect. You guys all heard me talk about the flywheel effect before, right? Before a bunch of insane things happened. You guys heard me talk about the flywheel effect. Let me just let me just kind of end the call with this, right? What do you think happens to all the VCs and speculators with big money who are looking to park their money somewhere, start to eventually work out what's really going on here? What some of you have taken a couple of years to work out, so they may not work it out overnight. But when they do, where do you think they want to park their money? I'll leave you with that thought, my friends, because I know the answer to that question.
Absolutely. There are going to be people that have been loyal and emotionally attached to some of their old projects from all the years of hearing speculation. But in my opinion, everything that I've seen, and I'm watching this happen in real time, this is where they're going to be shoving everything. Like, they're just going to be bailing from some of those things, especially when you look at, and we never even talked on this, and I know we're going to have to wind this down.
No, go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
The L1. This is the first time I think we've said L1 today, of us being an L1 with the transaction speeds that are unprecedented in this space, of the adoption that companies want to have and will have using that. And again, it's all spendable Lemex, which takes the price of Lemex and pushes it through the roof. And if you haven't seen Jason leave the crumb on this one 50 times now, that he believes that L2 projects were going to potentially outperform the Lemex itself. What happens when you have $100,000 Lemex and it's crashing into no tokens left over there, with royalties, with burns, with, I mean,
right. There's only one outcome. I mean, again, it's not an ROI. It's not a guarantee. It's not a promise. We're not selling anything. We're not compensated to be here. We're just doing math with you. And I look at other crypto projects. There are trillions of dollars currently in crypto. It's all there for a variety of reasons. A lot of them are around this idea of store of value, because it's a fixed supply, and we live in hyperinflationary environments. Fixed supply is very attractive. But when a new seductive mistress comes along that's deflationary, what do they happens to all that market cap over time?
Joe said it good. Then token go up.
And other token go down. Because there's going to be a large vacuum sucking noise over here. It's going to sound like lemon juice being sucked through hyperspace, pulling like a magnet on a lot of those other dollars out there, because capital flows to where it's respected. Capital flows to higher grounds. It just does.
Absolutely. Terry, I think I'm out of juice. I'm like, I know that was fantastic.
Go refill yourself up with some lemonade, and we'll be back again. We'll do some more of these. We've been maybe doing a few too many for some people's liking, maybe too many for other people's liking. We're trying to find that balance. So
we were just, the biggest thing was these questions have come up a lot, and that's why Terry and I were on the same page, kind of saying to do it. I was thinking about asking him, and then he actually said it ahead of time. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely a time to go do this. And then what'll happen is you guys can send this to people. So if you go to the mynodetraining.com, I'll put this under that video, probably the main one. I'll put it under, probably under the buttons. And then you can just tell people, because this is all it really comes down to is I've got friends that I would love to see get involved, but I'm not going to take the time to handhold them the entire way to change their financial future. I mean, I'm not going to do it. But I will send them the video. I will send them, you know, this information, and they can get it. And I think if you guys are probably going to want to watch this one over and over. That's why I did the best I could to go through and break down what the things, because when they say light papers are coming out, read the light papers, you're going to know what you're reading now. And then after you read them, you're going to be able to make a decision on, it's a project I'm going to pass on, or this is one I want to get on. This one just minted. I mean, I personally believe, and Terry, I'm sure you are on the same page as this, that when a project launches, there's a chance that it will mint out, completely be gone in an afternoon. Like there'll be that many people that when they launch a live project, that many people will be in the ecosystem. So we're spoiled right now in a way that, you know,
there'll come a day where we get very few NFTs and very little tokens, right? Like the model won't change, but there'll just be so many people minting that we're just going to get, you know, cranked down on how many tokens we can get right from the get-go, you know, because if 200,000 mint on day one, if 500,000 mint on day one, divide that up by the number of tokens going out, you're not going to get a whole lot of grab on that juice. So that'll change. That'll change, friends. And hey, Mikey, maybe this is not called when token up. Maybe it's called why token up.
There you go. That's why. I mean, that's actually a better one. I like that better. It's why token up, and then you can go why token down. You can show it, that kind of thing. Hey, if you guys don't mind,
why Rev token up?
Yeah, why Rev?
Because there's no tokens left. There's no tokens left in the wallet holders, and there's no tokens left in the EGI pool. There is none. So you are watching it real. These are more aggressive than Rev, but you're watching it real time. Rev came in 10 days before some circumstances. And very soon, when real money hits Rev, you're going to see what we were describing, right?
Yeah, it can be crazy. Hey, if you guys enjoyed today, do me a favor in the chat. I mean, without killing the Telegram, maybe just put, hey, make sure you guys watch this. Make sure you watch it. Sorry, Terry, I'm going to look. People are going to go wonder what's happening. But let people know about this, because this will actually, in my opinion, answer a lot of the questions that people have, because now they can take a deep breath, that they don't have to keep asking when token up, because they will understand where we're at and what's going on. So just make sure, you know, mention that you liked it, you got something out of it, and so on. We could be on here for a long time answering questions too, but maybe we'll do this. Well, maybe we'll do Q&A on a different one. Just we can get this out here and get this done within an hour or so. Is that cool, Terry?
Yeah, good, buddy.
All right, cool. Well, hey guys, everybody, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much. Terry, any closing words?
All good, man. Just keep stacking and learn to protect your asks. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Have a good one.